with people just meditating, period. They feel judged. Because I think there's a lot of like stigma around it. It's like, oh, you have to be spiritual. You have to like wear white clothes. You have to like go around chanting all the time. And it's not that. Like, it's really just for your mental health at this point.
Yeah.
And it's something that you actually need, just like you need a shower.
Welcome to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast, where we help you live your best life while working on your health and fitness goals. We're here to make your journey fun and inspiring.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast. I'm your host, Vince Sant, and today we have one of our V-Shred lead managers, Shauna Rust, here with us today. She has her degree in culinary and nutrition, kinesiology, certified nutritionist, certified personal trainer, certified health coach, and today we are going to be talking about meditation. So, Shauna, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am really excited about going over this. Meditation is something overlooked so much, and I think it's really effective, especially in today's society. So really excited to go over this topic.
And I know I already kind of gave you a little bit of an introduction. Why don't you just go ahead and reintroduce yourself and tell us why you're so passionate or why you're so excited about talking about this.
So for me, meditation became something very needed in my life, actually. It came to the point where I had very anxiety. I'm a very hyper person, so to speak. So through all of my nutrition training and culinary training, I was really all about wellness, and that's encompassing everything. So that's also your mindset, your perspective, and also how you carry yourself through your day every day. So I started working with yogis, gurus, going over to India, staying in ashrams, and really diving deep into it. So I would say I used to meditate 4 hours a day, and
Wow.
really it was a huge part of my life. It was something that I wouldn't be able to walk out the house without having meditation. So now meditation is something that I do. I teach daily, or I do daily. I don't teach daily, but I teach one time a week to other people. And anyone that is, wanting to or is open to this path, I am very open to teaching them as well. But I never pressure anyone because it has to be something you want from inside. So
yeah,
that's my background, meditation.
Yeah, no, that's cool. 4 hours a day is a lot. That's crazy. That's a rabbit hole of meditation and self-work. So kind of taking a step back, because that's next level, right? What is just like a basic definition of what meditation is?
Right. We have such a busy lifestyle, right? And so I always, when presenting meditation, I said meditation is something that you can actually have in your waking, meaning that you don't have to actually sit down and close your eyes. Now, of course, that's the way that I recommend you start doing it. But little did I know, when I was younger, I was actually meditating when I was running. So running, I did cross-country running. And for some reason, whenever I was running, I became very calm. And after a couple
flow
miles,
state type thing.
Yeah, you start feeling it, right? And I finally figured out later that I was going into a meditation, and I didn't realize it. So meditation is something where you're just actually seizing the thoughts and you're coming to your present moment. So it doesn't have to be something so intricate as we all think. It can be, for sure. There's many practices. You can go for hours. You can go for a whole day, month, week, whatever you want. But to begin, it can be something as simple as staying in your present moment. So a lot of women like to clean. While they're cleaning, they can be meditating. And this is a daily practice where it just brings you back to you instead of your crazy mind, which is where we mostly are throughout the day.
What are some of the common misconceptions around meditation, and how can we help to clarify them?
I bet you there's just so many of them. I have heard maybe a handful of them. One of the biggest things is people are very afraid of meditation. And I'm not sure why, but I can guess it's because of fear and unknown, right? So when I teach classes, they'll come in and you'll notice there's a lot of resistance. And the biggest thing is fear. And I'm not sure where the fear is rising from, but they'll go and they'll sit. And I think it's just basically sitting with yourself for a second, actually like seizing those thoughts. They're faced with themselves, and their fear rises. And so I've seen so many people run away from meditation purely because of that. I don't necessarily understand it deeply, but I do know it happens consistently. So that's one of the biggest things, is there's a resistance on it just because I think there's a lack of knowledge and there's a fear behind it.
Do you think there's anything related to the time it takes? Because really time is the biggest thing that people say. People just say they don't have time. They don't have time to work out. They don't have time to eat healthy. They don't have time to do anything, right? Do you ever hear that people don't have time to meditate?
100%. And the one thing with that, Vince, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'll be sitting in my classes, right? And everyone's like, I go, so do you not have time to meditate? That's one of the questions I ask, right? And you always have people like raise their hand. I go, well, you need to meditate more. Okay. These are the people that are so busy. They're so lost in their thoughts throughout the day. They have no clarity behind actually who they are or what they're doing or their intent is. They're just so caught up in the busyness. And the busyness is what I have to do. I have to take the kids this. I have soccer practice. I have this, and this. And this is what they're finding of importance, right? But they're not realizing that this is all just busyness of the mind. So if they were to take just maybe 10 minutes out of their day, they could step back and see like what the truth is, and that all this craziness is not really needed. And it's actually not doing them, and it's not doing any service for them as well. It's actually just making their life more chaotic and less peaceful.
Well, and it's also, I think for me, I don't have a extensive history in meditation, but like I'm more of a take it as prescribed, like when it's needed, if I'm like really feeling stressed, or if I like get on a New Year's kick and I'm like, I'm going to meditate. Sometimes I try daily for like a month, or I'll be like, I'm going to do it. Because I also like to be realistic with my goals. And I think that's probably a smart way for most people to go about it. Because if you're not truly going to meditate every single day, don't set a goal to meditate every single day. Say you're going to meditate 3 times a week, or you're going to meditate for an hour a week. And you can make that an hour a day. You can make that 20 minutes 4 times, 20, 40, 60. You can make that 10 minutes a day, every single day, whatever you want to do. But like, why do you think it's become like, so for me, I do it when I do get stressed. Have you seen an uptick in people's interests in meditation? Because a couple of years ago, I didn't care about meditation. I'd always heard the term, and I'd always thought that it was helpful if I did it, but I never really saw a need. But now my life's super busy. My life is just fast paced. Why do you think it's become so much more common now?
Yeah. And you're exactly right. So why meditation's become, my opinion anyways, why it's become so more popular now than say even just 5 years ago, right? Because the way the world has changed. I mean, after COVID, our world has changed in such a way that we are busier now than we ever have been. And of course, everyone thinks that if we're working remote, this is going to cause us to have more time in our life. Unfortunately, it's done the opposite. Now we have no excuse to turn off. So because we're always plugged in, we need that chance to really connect with ourselves. And that's really what meditation is. You're unplugging from all of this chaos that we are presented with every day through our phone, through our computer, through all of our, systems that we have. And we're constantly being fed with news, with media, with everything.
It's a dopamine just from all these different devices.
Correct. And we're getting high off this, we get all this stuff, and it's really not, how to say, this is not our natural state, So when we're doing meditation, we're trying to get back to our natural state. So we're back in that flow state instead of reading all this stuff, getting anxiety, thinking all this stuff, and just being completely chaotic within your life. That's why I feel meditation is so much more important now. And also it's being used more now.
I assume a lot of the people that are going to be listening to this, I mean, this is meditation 101, right? So it's like they're not going to be meditation experts. How do you recommend, what's like a routine that you recommend for somebody who is just trying to get started with it?
Yeah.
Because even 30 minutes might be a little overwhelming for some people.
Create a space, create the right environment for yourself. For instance, you're not going to want to meditate every day in the kitchen. Why? Because when you're in the kitchen, what do you think of? Food, right? You're not thinking of relaxing or meditating. You don't want to do it in like your office where you're always working, because your computer is right there and you're going to naturally think of all the work you have to do. So creating an environment that is conducive for meditation, and also something that is going to remind you of the practice you're about to do. So you're setting your intention prior to. And then from there, you do it same time every day as well. this again is setting up a habit. So again, we can't do just like working out. It'd be ideal if we could do it consistently all the time or whatever it may be. But if you only have a certain amount of time or a certain hour every day, then do it that time. But if you can set a specific hour every day to do it, then that's another great practice. So first, you set the environment. Second, you are creating your intention and also setting it at the same time every day. And then you go into your third. So now you're in your spot, you're sitting down your cushion. A simple practice for meditation is just simply looking in the third eye. Okay, so third eye meditation is one of the meditations that anyone can practice. It's very simple. And all you're doing is you're just keeping your attention here with your eyes closed, and do that for like 10 minutes. And by the end of it, your thoughts will be clear. You'll have a feeling of peace. This is what you're supposed to feel when you do meditation. But that's a very simple practice to set up for yourself. If you just want to do meditation daily for 10 minutes, do that.
And when you say third eye and focus on third eye, what do you mean exactly?
So third eye, there's I don't want to go too much into it, but there's our physical
keep
eyes.
High level for us.
Okay. So physical eyes, right? This is what we see out of, and we see everything. And as you, as you raise your consciousness, you have an inner eye, your spiritual eye, right? So as you start to meditate, you will start to experience different things and have certain experiences within your meditation. I cannot tell you what those experiences are. You would have to try it for yourself. But once you do it and you start to focus here long enough, you will understand what your third eye
and
is.
What do you mean focus here? Like, how do I focus here? What am I thinking?
If you close your eyes and you can can you do that? I mean, can you try it?
What? Close
my eyes. You don't even
have
to touch it. You don't have to touch it. You just, just put your attention there.
And then just try to think about nothing but that. Is that the goal?
What I always tell people to do is with that is just, if a thought rises, you push it aside, right? So the main thing with meditation is to clear your thoughts. That's simply the most simple thing to say about meditation, is you're just supposed to clear all your thoughts. Because we identify with our thoughts, right? So we think we are our thoughts. And the whole point of meditation is to take that separation and understand that you are not your thoughts. You are something beyond your thoughts. And when we sit there and we're moving all our thoughts away, we realize they're temporary and they're not something that's not us. It's just something that's arising within us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the whole focus on the third eye thing, obviously I've heard of the third eye, but I never really heard about like focusing on that during meditation. I've always heard focus on breath, like focus on breathing out and breathing in, and that's it. Because I've done like guided meditations and stuff. And a lot of times guided meditations are just like telling you to relax certain parts of your body and telling you to inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And so it gets you to focus on what I find, nothing else, because you're so focused on breath. Do you think that somebody should start with that third eye thought or the thought of breath? Like, what is the easiest way of getting into meditation for somebody who's like my mom and my dad? I don't think they've ever meditated in their entire life. What would be an easy way for them to start meditating tomorrow? Yeah.
So, and you're absolutely correct. Like if I'm doing a class, say for instance, I'll start with asanas, which means yoga, right? And so what this is doing, this is preparing the body for you to sit. And then your next segment would be going into your breath work, okay? So pranayama. So when you're doing your breath work, you're actually calming down your mind and you're calming down everything. You're coming to your present moment. So this is preparing your mind now for your meditation. So when you're doing breath work, that's just bringing you back to your present moment. And it's like a preparation, so to speak. And then as you go into meditation, then you can go and you can do concentration. You can do third eye meditation, transcendental. You can choose the meditation you want to go into. So for parents or for anyone that is just beginning, honestly, I would just sit there with your eyes closed and simply watch your thoughts. And I would keep your attention just here, but I would just watch your thoughts. And any thought that comes is just simply move it aside. That's the most simple practice that I could recommend anyone who's just beginning.
And what about the people who are going to push back and go, I can't do it. I can't clear my thoughts. I have so much going on in my head. I have a million things on my to-do list. What do you say to them?
I know everyone says it. Everyone says it, and it is possible for every single person because that's not our natural state, So I love the people that are like, oh, I just overthink everything. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does, but we're just not aware of it. Not everyone's aware that they're overthinking everything. As you become more aware, you're able to watch your thoughts, right? And you're able to be like, I'm thinking this right now, which I know there's no truth behind it, and you can simply wipe it aside, right? So anyone who says I can't do it is simply not trying, and that's the honest truth.
And I liked what you said about the whole environment thing, so I kind of want to touch on that again
Yeah.
because I think that's
Yeah.
big. Doing it in your office, like you said, your computer's right there. Doing it in like sometimes I'll like tell myself I'm going to meditate before bed in bed,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm just gonna sleep now, and so I'll try to meditate,
Yeah.
but I just I'm just gonna sleep. And so it's like same thing with like in the kitchen. In the kitchen, you're going to be thinking about food. So depending on your environment, you're thinking about different things. What is the ideal environment? Like what's your environment? And then what is like my mom? We'll just keep using my parents as an example, I guess. What's an ideal environment for my mom to get into that routine of meditating, or when she's sitting down to do her first meditation? Where does she
Yeah.
want to be sitting?
So again, I don't know.
Or is she standing? Is she sitting? Is she standing? What is she doing?
She's standing. Is she swimming? What is she doing? No.
Yeah.
Okay. So, um, I don't know your mother's house exactly, but it's really about the person and how they're feeling within that space. So for example, I will tell you when I first started meditating would just be in my room, and I would, you want to set the space correctly. So for instance, do you want to put up an altar? Do you want to do some incense? Do you want to have it in a dark room? Do you want to have some lights? Do you want to have a blue light? Something that makes you feel like you're at peace, right? Whatever that is. Everyone's different. I definitely wouldn't recommend a loud room or anything with a lot of lights. Something with a good temperature. You usually get cold during meditation, so dressing warm and comfortable as well. But for like your mother, one thing I don't recommend is like, say for instance, like you were saying with going to bed, you normally go to sleep when you're in bed. So naturally you're gonna be like, yeah, I'll try it tonight. But then you go to sit down, you're like, yeah, I want to go to sleep. So don't do it something like that. Or like, for instance, there's a chair in her room. She's like, okay, I'm gonna sit in this chair. But in front of that chair, there's a TV where she normally watches. So maybe that's not the best place to do it because your mind will now go to that action. So whatever, I mean, it's really personal experience, but it has to be something where you're true to yourself and understanding, yes, I can really relax here and I can do this consistently. And just like you said, managing your expectations so that you can do it something consistently and not like I'm going to do an hour every single day because that's not realistic for most people.
What's your take
for our parents?
What's your take on going somewhere to do it? Like going to a park, going to a body of water, going hiking and doing it at the top of the mountain.
Yep. A lot of people do that, and that's where they find the most peace as well. A lot of times when I'm doing meditation, they, like to add in certain bits about what they're feeling. They're like, well, I like to go to oceans usually. I like to go to a cliff. And this is good to do. You will get experiences from it. But again, consistency is kind of where it's at as well. So these things are good for experiences and they're good. You'll feel something from doing it in front of a beach or a cliff. But consistency is really what I recommend for meditation.
And how long do you suggest each session be?
Okay. Well, when you're just starting, if you can at least do 15 minutes, like anything less than that, it's really just a teaser because you have to, if we were both to sit here right now and just like close our eyes, do you know how long it would take for all the thoughts to stop?
Feels like never.
Feels like never. So, 10 minutes is not going to do it. So it's like, but at least start setting that intention, right? So if you can be like, well, at least every 10 minutes, I'm going to come into this space and I'm going to sit here. And I may be thinking the whole time, but at least I'm practicing it. At least I'm setting that intention to do it because eventually your thoughts will go away. I do promise.
And then do you find that people, because I mean, a lot of the reason that people quit things is because they don't get easier. Do you find that meditation becomes easier as time goes on?
Meditation definitely becomes easier. as time goes on. But the more important thing, Vince, is not so much that it becomes easier, it becomes so enjoyable.
Mm.
And I say this like I don't want to get too into it, but it's definitely a euphoric feeling, and you like all these things will drop that you're holding on to that you don't realize. So the benefits
Mm.
behind meditation is so much bigger than it is just actually practicing it. Like if I were to tell you what 10 minutes a day could give you for the longevity of your life, it would be such a larger return than what you're actually putting in for meditation.
And you say you don't want to go too into it, but I'm going to probe a little bit. Go
Yeah.
into it. Are there like certain experiences that you've had? Because like 4-hour meditation sessions, you're probably having like visions and
Like, where am I,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, so give me an example of what people can expect as they get a little deeper into the meditation journey.
Yeah. So when I first started meditation, I was actually I worked with a guru specifically. So he gave me practices on how to do it. And one of his suggestions was to have me do it for 2 hours in the morning, 2 at night. It was
Phew.
a big, it was a big task. So I'd wake up at 5 and I would go till 7. It's difficult. It's very difficult. It's nothing I really recommend for anyone. But as I was going into it, I found myself wanting to meditate longer. Okay, so
Hmm.
why is this? Why would anyone want to sit there in a spot for this long, right? Because I started experiencing things. And they always tell you about this, but they don't give you exact how to say, they don't say exactly what it is because the mind will create that, right? So the experience is beyond the mind. And you can't really explain something that's beyond the mind because comprehension comes from the mind. Okay. So when I say these things, I'm going to say it's something that is, it's not an actual object within this physical. So it's very difficult to relay this, but I'll say it very, very lightly. Like you get lights, you feel lightness. A lot of your fears, anxiety go away. You feel a freedom. You just don't feel restricted anymore. And you don't feel like you're trapped within, I guess, the frame you're supposed to be trapped in. Because as a person or as a mind, sometimes the mind can make you feel like you're trapped in something. So again, as you do meditation and you get these experiences, it's way better than what I'm explaining, but that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. and I love the whole spiritual just side of thing. I think in my last probably 2 to 3 years, I like to think I've become much more conscious and much more aware of certain things. But I noticed that it's becoming a lot popular in today's society as well. There's a lot more people who are pushing mindfulness and consciousness and all that kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of people who are not, I don't want to say buying into it, but they're not necessarily sold on it because it's not a part of their reality. It's not a part of their experience yet. What do you say to the people who are a little bit hesitant to give into the opportunity to become more conscious and more mindful?
That's a tough one. I don't want to pressure. I don't like to put any pressure on anyone, but it's not even so much me, it's just, I think if they were to actually just experience a little bit of that release, that I'm speaking about through meditation, then they would really understand that it's not just something that's spiritual. I think there's a taboo thing, right? Where it's like the spiritual thing and there's maybe cults or something. And if you meditate, you're in a cult. I'm not really sure, so I think there's a lot of resistance in that. And people don't like to change, any change that's presented in front of them. It's like, oh, well, what is this new age thing? What is this? But it's just for your health. And it's really just for you to, if you do want to raise your consciousness, you can do that as well. But there's very simple things that come from it. Peace, mindfulness, just being more aware, being kind to other people. And we really do need that more. So if you're resistant just because out of maybe old ideas, then that's on you. But if, there shouldn't be any fear behind it because it's just
Yeah.
your wellness and your mind. Your wellness for your mind and mental health as well.
Yeah. And then again, I go back to, I've worked with a lot of people about different things, and scheduling and time available is a big one. If Jason in California busy business executive got no free time, how do you recommend he get started?
Yeah. Again, like I was mentioning, you can do meditation, you don't have to do it just sitting down. That's ideal for consistency. But you can do meditation anywhere. So most of the times if I'm on a train or I'm traveling, I'm on a plane, I'm meditating. And reason being is because I am busy too, so it's like you can throw some glasses on and then you can just sit there and you can meditate. Why am I meditating, while I'm traveling? Well, it's because it's setting me in the right spot. It's getting me in that flow state and it's getting me back to my true state. I'm not sitting there like stressed out from the traveling or this. I'm calm, I'm collected, I'm ready, And why is that? Because I took some time to meditate. So it's really, there should be no excuse behind it because we all do have at least 10 minutes where we're just sitting there doing nothing. Or maybe we're on our phone for those 10 minutes. We just put the phone down and connect with ourselves.
So it sounds like you look at meditation more of a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach, which is admittedly what I have not done. I'm stressed, I need to meditate, as opposed to just having a schedule around meditation every day or every other day or just a couple times a week. How do you recommend somebody adopt that proactive when, like, on the days where, like, do you meditate on the days you don't feel like you need to meditate? Do you meditate every day?
I do.
You do. And on the days that you feel like you don't need it, how do you get yourself to still do it?
That's a good question, because some days, you're just like, you don't feel like you need it.
Right.
That's the hard part, is when I feel like I don't need it. Because it gets to a point when you're meditating so much, right? You're kind of in a meditative state when you're not meditating anymore. And so that's ultimately the state that you kind of want to get to, is because then you're able to actually clear your thoughts by just being. That's the ultimate state you want to get to. But yeah, you're right. Some days I'm just like, no, I'm good. I'm at peace. Like, I'm loving life. Everything is great. So what's the need for meditation? There's always going to be a little bit of, as I like to call it, dirt. And what I call dirt are thoughts that are just running rampant, or things that are maybe on you and bothering you that you're not aware of yet because you haven't put attention to it yet. So just meditation brings awareness to where you're at with yourself. And even on those days that I'm just like, no, I'm good, I'm feeling good, when I still sit and I meditate and it's like, oh, I didn't even know that was there, but it rose through my meditation, and I wouldn't have done that otherwise. But it's just always, I don't know, you got to just make yourself do it, I guess. Yeah.
And then would you say I get this question about literally everything, and the answer, I think I know the answer, but is there a best time of day to meditate?
Time for meditation, again, if you have time, meditate, but if you can set a set schedule for it, it's good just for consistency. Again, anything with consistency is going to drive those results. That's even with meditation.
Okay. But if I'm trying to go optimal, let's say I got a full day, I'm free all day, what's going to be the best time? Morning is a wonderful time, and also at night. So in the morning, you're going to be able to set your intentions. This was huge for me. So whenever I first started working, I would always meditate beforehand, because if I wasn't, I was going in there with preconceived notions, preconceived ideas. And I wasn't a clean slate. I was going in there with my own ideas. So I would always meditate before work, and that just kind of clears everything and sets you in the right intention for the entire day. And then before you go to bed, so you can also just clean it all up again. And so you go to sleep with a clean slate again. And then, so those two meditation sessions, are there different practices for a morning versus a night meditation?
There is actually for chanting. That's a very good question. How'd you know that?
I'm a good interviewer.
So meditation, there's different types of meditation, right? So if you're doing mantra or chanting, there's different, there's one for morning, and then there's ones for nights. So there's some that are will actually uplift you. You're chanting your meditation, and there's others that will put you more to sleep, and it's like a lullaby. So it's very good. Good job.
So if someone were to do you recommend people go on to Google and they look up best meditation practices or thoughts or anything? What would be step one if someone wants to start meditating? Someone's like, I'm going to meditate. Someone's listening to this right now. Let's say it's 8 p.m. and they're going to meditate before they go to bed. What do you recommend first step is?
The environment,
Okay.
again, making sure the first step for meditation is the environment, because if they're like, I want to meditate right now, and they're watching TV, well, they're not going to meditate, right?
Yeah.
So creating an environment. So let's say they're like, I want to meditate right now. Okay, go find your environment, clean your environment. So what I mean is not having any lights on, not having anything that's distracting, maybe sage the place, do some incense, set the right tone. So put some music on, dim the lights down. So again, environment's huge. Once they have the right environment down, then their intention. So what's their intention behind their practice? Are they there to just, gather some peace? Do they want to clear their thoughts? What is their intention for the meditation? And then the easiest practice is just clearing your thoughts for meditation as far as the practice goes. Because remind you, there are quite a few practices for meditation as well. So just clearing your thoughts is just one type of meditation, but I find that to be the easiest one.
Okay. And then what are some of the other forms?
So we have transcendental meditation.
And what is that?
Gosh.
Give me a 1 minute 1 minute synopsis of what these are.
So you silently repeat a personal assigned mantra. So a mantra is, again, something that maybe a guru would assign to you.
Can you assign it to yourself, or do you need a guru?
No, you should not assign it to yourself.
No, you shouldn't. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know.
No, you should have. There is something that resonates with you, but you should not assign it to yourself.
Okay.
There's yoga, which is what most people are familiar with in the Western cultures. Those are just like asanas. So those are just poses.
It's called yoga. Oh, it's actual yoga.
Asanas, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And as you move through it, you have concentration through the body, through the mind.
Gotcha. Okay.
Tai Chi, which I know Chinese martial arts.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then so you're just another one is Qigong. I actually don't know this one at all, to be honest with you. This one you maintain balance, it's exercise. I think it's very similar to Tai Chi. And there's also mindfulness meditation. It's something mindful. So like you were saying, sometimes you'll get these guided meditations and they'll be mindful where you have to feel certain sensations within your body, all throughout your body. That's one type. Mantra meditation, again, where you are chanting the whole time. So you do it for like 108 times and you'll just go through it and repeat and repeat. And eventually the mind just gets very silent and then you are able to transcend the mind through that.
So by repeat, you mean literally saying it out loud?
Literally. Yeah, literally. And you can say it inwardly, you can say it outwardly. But as you learn these mantras and you learn these, it just becomes very, you calm yourself a lot if you do practice it. And then there's guided meditation, which you mentioned earlier. And that one is a nice one for people that are just beginning, is guided meditation, because you don't have to do anything, just listen.
Just listen, and they help you focus on what you need to focus on. That's definitely my favorite. Are there any like specific tools that you would recommend somebody to use for something like a guided meditation?
Yep. I've done a guided meditation a couple of times. So I go to classes. And these, obviously, you have to be with an expert or a guru. You can't just, someone who's like,
me.
Hey,
breathe in.
Hey, let's
and out.
Everyone's going to be walking out of there like so confused. But so make sure you have someone who actually knows what they're doing. Some meditation practices can be really intense. So please make sure you do know what you're doing and not just do random things. But and then with other little tools is having a cushion. That's important to have if most people can't sit for that
comfortable.
Long. And they hurt too. And then as you're doing chanting, there's beads. So you chant for 108 times and it has 108 beads around it. And this is as you can remember, it's kind of like a timer or something. That's a tool we use. Incense, sage. You could do temples. You can do a symbol, whatever your God may be. These are kind of all the tools you can use for meditation. However far you want to go into it, but you can just make it super simple. Grab a pillow and sit down.
What about like specific apps or anything? Are there any apps that you've used?
No, I personally haven't, but I know Calm is I think that's one.
Yeah.
I think there's so many of them out there now. And that's actually a really good recommendation because a lot of people will message me and like, hey, any apps that you have or anything you recommend. So, and they're like, I tried this one out. It seemed really helpful and useful for me. So it's a good point. Apps are great.
Yeah, I think I used Calm actually for a little bit, and then I just found that I think it was a subscription. I was like, I don't think I need this enough to do it, because I think I just kind of was like, all they're telling me is to breathe, and I can just tell myself to do that. I also like doing it with like no headphones. I like, sometimes I just don't like listening to anything because I do find that it's a little distracting. Like I like doing it like in a sauna. Have you ever meditated in a sauna? It's kind of tough, to be honest.
Well, is there anyone else in there or?
Sometimes, yes, but I mean, not like if I'm taking the time, it's got to be the right environment. So it's got to be like nobody being annoying and talking super loud in there or talking at all. And so I just close my eyes and try to zone out.
For sure. I was also going to say with environments too. So I've done it in multiple different, I've done it all over the world, to be honest with you. I've done it at retreats, I've done it at ashrams, done it in India, done it in this or that. And a lot of times people have this indicate or this idea in their head that they have to be at a retreat or they have to do this or they have to with this group of people. And it's really not true. I mean, I've gotten some wonderful experiences all by myself. And I've also been like, and I've done retreats with like groups of people and nothing. So it's really just about, it's not, you know, you don't have to travel far. You don't have to go to India. You don't have to do any of these things. You can literally just do it in your room. So don't have this idea that it's going to be that difficult to do.
It doesn't have to be this big production.
Correct.
Yeah. And then do you recommend people do it every single day? Is that
as far
standard?
as meditation, I really recommend people do it every single day. Most people cannot do it every single day. Most people really have a resistance against it. Like I mentioned before, I teach classes, and one of the ladies, she was there, and I kept on saying like, so did you practice this week? Did you do your homework? And she goes, honestly, like I'm sitting down to do it and I just can't even sit for 5 minutes. I go, well, just keep on sitting for 5 minutes and eventually, you know, it's going to come to you. And so she's continued that practice, and she came in then the following week and she goes, you know, it was really difficult, but she was, I finally went into a park, like you were saying. I went into a park, and it was quiet. And she goes, and I felt kind of weird closing my eyes because I felt judged. And she goes, but eventually I just realized that that's just in my head. I let that go, and I was able to sit there and just be with myself. And she goes, and it felt amazing. So it is worth a try. And I know it's difficult for so many people, but if you just give yourself that opportunity, you'll be able to reap all the benefits that come along with it.
That's an interesting point you bring up, is if you are doing it in public, feeling like people are watching you or judging you. Have you heard that before her?
I hear that just even with people just meditating, period. You know, they feel judged. They feel, because I think there's a lot of like stigma around it. It's like, oh, you have to be spiritual. You have to like wear white clothes. You have to like, you know, go around chanting all the time. And it's not that. Like, it's really just for your mental health at this point.
Yeah.
And it's something that you actually need, just like you need a shower, you know, like you need to clean your mind. You need to clean all this crap that we're being fed every day, because you do not realize how much we're being fed and how much we're like actually just a product of our nature. And no one wants to be that. Everyone wants to be their individual self. So if you take the time to keep your mind clean, keep everything, you know, in its true state, then you will be able to experience that flow state and not just like a robot, because eventually we may all become robots. We're all fed so much stuff.
Well, for sure, I was actually just watching Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about how we are all going to become cyber engineered at some point, at least partially cyber engineered at some point. That is the direction that we're heading for sure. So that's quite interesting. And then, so I guess my last question is, we already kind of covered it a little bit. I want to just hear real quickly, just how your experience, your life has evolved since adopting this new meditative lifestyle.
Yeah. I'll tell you something funny though, Vince. Okay. So when I was younger, you know, obviously I didn't know meditation when I was younger, but it was funny because like I mentioned before, when I would run, I would go into meditative state, right? And so for me, there was something that I kept on getting pulled to. Why was I keep getting pulled to this? And even as a child, I would lay in bed and I would naturally do it. And I didn't realize I was doing it until I got older. And I was like, oh, I was meditating at that time because I needed that space. I needed that peace, even as a child. So from when I began, though, I would say probably about 11 years is when I really dedicated myself to my practice. I mean, the amount of anxiety and stress that has left my life is unreal. I mean, I am a very hyper person. I'm a very type A, so I like everything square, perfect, OCD, yeah, everything, right? This can be very consuming in someone's life. Like at the end of the day, it's like I've spent all my day just correcting and making everything perfect, right? And it becomes so consuming for myself is that, and now with introducing meditation, having just more of a practice where I understand that this is madness and kind of separate that a little bit and just get back to my true self. Trust me, like I'm a different person. If you would have known me before, I'd be like, wow, she's a lot. I'm still a lot, but a little bit,
a little less a lot.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's cool.
But I do recommend it. And I mean, even for you, I know it's not something that you have daily, but if you would implement it in your life and really put true intent in it, you would see your life transform as well.
I think I'm gonna, because I've been, because I've gotten more into like, I actually just saged for the first time the other day when I was leaving my old house, but it was mainly for fantasy football. My fantasy football team had lost like the fourth guy in 3 weeks. And so I was like, I need to do something. And so I saged my computer. But I've like been journaling more than I ever have. Like I used to be like, I'm going to start journaling. And then I would journal for a week and then I wouldn't journal again. And so like this year has been like the first time that I've really kind of adapted to like, just like, I guess, mental health and like more wellness focused routines. And I know meditation is a big part of that as well. And I've also noticed that in my own life, when I do it, I do feel better. You get out of a session and you feel clearer. You feel just like you don't feel as foggy. You don't feel as stressed. And so maybe this is the motivation. Maybe this is the podcast episode that I needed to motivate me to actually do it. And hopefully any listeners out there, hopefully this is the podcast that you needed to start meditating as well. And so, I mean, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Do you have anything else that you want to mention before we hop off?
No, not at all. I mean, again, you know, if anyone does want to do any research though, and look at all the benefits of meditation, it's quite endless and quite daunting to understand all the benefits you do get from it. So again, give yourself the opportunity. Just like with working out with anything, you're going to feel so amazing. And why not give yourself that? Because, you know, at the end of the day, being your optimal self and being your best self is really what it's all about.
Yeah. And I think last thing I'll say, I think the biggest takeaway that a lot of people can leave here with is that, I mean, it's just like anything. It doesn't have to be perfect in the beginning. It can just be something where like same thing with like working out. If you go work out, I would way rather you go to the gym, not know what you're doing, but be there and walk around, look at the machines, see what other people are doing, ask people questions. It's the same thing with meditation. Do a little research online, maybe go to a meditation class, like you said, and just try it and just see and learn as you go. It's just like anything that you're doing for the first time is going to be a little overwhelming, and you're not gonna do it very good. Everybody sucks in the beginning, and so as time goes on, hopefully you suck a little less each time, and you start learning and you start really enjoying it, and then that's when it becomes a routine, and that's when you really start seeing the benefits. If you don't see the benefits immediately, for me, I don't feel the benefits each time because sometimes the sessions they just weren't good sessions, but then sometimes it was like 20-30 minutes of just straight bliss, and it was phenomenal to come out of. So yeah, appreciate you sharing all that insight with us.
Oh, that was awesome. I love hearing that. I love hearing that you get the bliss state.
Yeah,
that's truly what it's about. Like you can feel that all the time too. Just know that.
I look forward to it. Well, thank you for being on here with us, and for everybody else, we got more episodes coming with Shauna, so make sure you guys are staying tuned. But Shauna, again, thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. This was absolutely amazing, and I really appreciate the opportunity, and I hope everyone can take something from this.
Cool. All right, y'all. See you later.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of V-Shred's Better Body, Better Life podcast. Whether you're doing one of our programs, taking our supplements, or just doing things on your own, tune in every week for exclusive content with Vince, V-Shred trainers, and special guests as they share valuable tips around motivation, workouts, food, and living a healthier lifestyle. See you next time.